Hello everyone, I'm back to read our second story. Still the 4th of July, still Independence Day. Well, the story I'm going to read to you is about a different kind of Independence Day that happened for the Jewish people. This is the story of Esther. Esther and her uncle Mordecai did exactly what God told them to do, and it ended up saving her people from certain death. This book is titled Queen Esther Saves Her People. The story is by Penny Frank. Hey, my name is Penny also. It's illustrated by Toni Morris. The Bible tells us how God chose the Jewish nation to be his special people. He made them a promise that he would always love and care for them, but they must obey him. Esther was a Jewish girl who became queen in the far-off land of Persia. You can find the story in your own Bible in the book called by her name. Have you ever read the book of Esther in the Bible? It's a good one. One day in the city of Susa, there was great excitement. The king of Persia was going to choose a new queen. The most beautiful girls in the land were sent to the palace. For a whole year they were given special food. They were made even more beautiful, ready for King Xerxes to choose the one he liked best. One of the girls sent to the palace was called Esther. She was Jewish. Her parents had died when she was a little girl, so she lived with her uncle, Mordecai. "You are so beautiful, I'm sure the king will choose you," said her uncle. "But don't tell him you are Jewish. Keep that a secret." Esther did as Mordecai told her. She kept her secret. King Xerxes chose her out of all the other girls because she was so lovely. The whole city had a holiday. The king gave everyone presents to celebrate his new queen, Esther. Esther enjoyed living at the palace. Her uncle Mordecai worked there. He told Esther what was happening in other parts of the busy palace. One day he was very worried. "I have just heard 2 men planning to kill the king," he said. Well, immediately Esther told the king. When he found out that the story was true, he punished the 2 men. The king told his servant to write down Mordecai's name in his diary so that he would not forget the man who had saved his life. A few years later, King Xerxes had a new prime minister. His name was Haman, and he was proud and wicked. When Haman walked in the palace gardens and in the city square, he made everyone bow down to him. But Mordecai did not bow down to Haman. "I bow down only to the living God," he told the people. "I cannot bow down to Haman." So Haman hated him. Haman decided it was time to get rid of Mordecai and all his people. He went to the king. He said, "Scattered across your land," he told the king, "are people who do not live like us. They do not obey the laws of the land, and as your prime minister, I advise you to get rid of them." Haman was a clever man. When he spoke like that, King Xerxes thought the idea was very sensible. He gave the order that on a certain day, all the Jews should be killed. When Mordecai heard of the king's order, he was very upset. Mordecai went to see Esther. "This is all Haman's fault," said Mordecai. "He wouldn't dare to do it if he knew that you were a Jewish girl. You must go and ask the king to save our lives." "I am only allowed to go to the king if he asks for me," said Queen Esther. "He may kill me if I go without an invitation. You must ask all our people to pray for me." "Of course we will pray for you," said Mordecai. "Perhaps this is why God made you Queen of Persia, so that you could save our people." Esther quietly went to the king's room. She knew she was breaking the palace rules. She was so thankful when he looked pleased to see her. "What would you like, Esther?" said the king. "Please come to a special banquet I am having. said Queen Esther. "I would like you to bring Haman with you." The king and Haman came to the banquet. It was a delicious meal. Haman felt very proud of being at the queen's banquet. That night, King Xerxes could not get to sleep. He tossed and turned, grunted and yawned, but still he was wide awake. In the end, he started to read his diary. He read about the 2 men who had plotted to kill him. "Have I ever rewarded Mordecai?" he asked his servant. "No, never," the servant said. The next day, King Xerxes gave Mordecai some gorgeous robes and put him on his own horse. He told Haman to go ahead of the horse around the city square, shouting, "Look how the king rewards a man who serves him well." Haman just hated doing that. The next night, the king and Haman went to see the queen again. "I want to give you a present," the king said to Esther. "You can have anything you like. What can I give you?" Esther was trembling with fear. She knew she must tell the king now about the plot to kill the Jews. "There is only one present I really want," Esther said. "I am a Jew. I want you to change the order which says all the Jews must be killed." "Who told me to make such a terrible order?" asked the king. "That man did," said Queen Esther, and pointed to Haman. The king looked at Haman. Haman was trying to run away. The servants in the palace caught him. "He wanted to kill my queen and Mordecai and all of the Jews?" shouted the king. "Get rid of him instead!" So Mordecai was made prime minister in place of Haman. The advice he gave the king was always wise and good. God's people were safe living in the land of Persia. Esther was given all the riches which had belonged to Haman. She was so glad she had trusted the living God to keep her safe when she was frightened, and she thanked God every day because he had saved his people. So God had spoke to them, and they knew what to do to save the Jewish people. That's a good one. We all can listen to hear what God has to say to us. We can read our Bibles and he speaks to us. Sometimes our parents speaks to us and we know that that's what God would want. There's many ways that we can hear from God. And we need to be obedient too, because good things happen when we obey God. Y'all have a good time at the virtual ashram, and we will be seeing you soon. Bye.